This is a story about an Australian boy missing in a Syrian jail.
Yusuf's a beautiful boy. He's my baby.
Yusuf Zahab, a Sydney school kid plunged into an IS nightmare. Most of the Australians who lived under the Islamic State group and survived its destruction have been held without charge or trial since 2019, including children.
Where are you from?
Australia.
Yusuf is a child, for God's sake. He was a child when it was taken over. He had no agency and he's been left to rot and disappear.
Yusuf became the face and the voice of the lost boys of Syria.
I'm Australian, 17 years old. I just got shot by Apache. My head's bleeding. I have an injury in my head, in my hand.
He was even reported dead.
We had grieved, the family had grieved.
Only Yusuf's story didn't end there.
I hope you find the truth. I hope you find out the story. If he's with us, where is he? What's his current status? And if he's not with us, what happened to him? We want to know.
I've come to Western Sydney, where Yusuf Zahab grew up, and where one member of his extended family has been leading the charge to find him. Oh, look, he's a kid.
He's a kid here. He's younger, face painting. You know, any Australian child with a school fate gets their face painted, and there he is, happy, smiling kid, which is the way I remember him. This is a happy, smiling kid.
Kamal Debussy has not only been pushing for information about Yusuf, he's been advocating for all the families of Australians stuck in Syria since the fall of the Islamic State group in 2019.
Yes, this shot I know well. That's when Yusuf's niece was born, Yusuf's mum, and yeah, there's Yusuf there.
Yusuf was an ordinary kid who loved playing dress-ups, riding his bike, and hanging out with his cousins. In 2015, he was just settling into Year 7 when he was taken on a family holiday to Lebanon and Turkey. Yusuf's older brother and sister were already in Syria, living under the Islamic State's self-declared caliphate. Kamal says the family went to the border to try to take the sister home, but were instead coerced into IS territory.
They did not choose to go. And certainly Yusuf at that age doesn't make a choice to go, he gets taken, and that's his story.
Yusuf would spend the next 4 years living under the Islamic State group. It's estimated more than 40,000 foreigners came to join the organisation or live in territory under its rule. Amongst them, Yusuf's much older brothers, Mohammed Zahab and later Khaled Zahab. Mohammed was a senior IS member and a recruiter. Kamal believes that together, Khaled and Mohammed were responsible for the Zahab family ending up in Syria. This includes younger brother Yusuf, sister Sumaya, parents Hisham and Amina, and Khaled's wife, Mariam Debussy, who is Kamal's daughter.
Khaled obviously was my son-in-law. I quite liked him. He was working, he was just a normal boy growing up in Australia. He'd married my daughter, and he's my grandchildren's father. And I try and remember the good and not focus or dwell on the bad, even though clearly we've paid a big price for those bad decisions.
But by 2018, Mohammed and Khaled Zahab were dead. A year later, the Islamic State group lost the Battle of Barghuz, their last stronghold, and the remainder of the Zahab family emerged from the rubble.
As the fall of Barghuz came, the men were taken at one of the checkpoints. Yusuf was then separated from his mother. His mother and his sister were taken initially to Al-Hol camp, and Yusuf, we didn't know where he was. That's when the search started and began for Yusuf at that stage.
Yusuf, who was now aged 15, disappeared into the Kurdish prison system. How does a boy go missing?
That's a good question. I went to visit in 2019 and tried with all my networks to find Youssef. International press have been asking for him, aid agencies have been asking for him, the UN Special Rapporteur has been asking about him. He is well known to the Kurds. How they would miss him, misplace him, lose him in the system, it doesn't make any sense to me.
For lack of information, what does your gut tell you about Youssef?
My gut tells me that he is no longer with us, but the worst case is that no one's telling us.
We are going to Syria to look for Youssef. What are you hoping?
I hope you find the truth. I hope you find out the story. If he's with us, where is he? What's his current status? And if he's not with us, what happened to him? If you were to find Youssef and you're able to meet with Youssef, I would want you to tell him two things. His family dearly loves him, and he's not forgotten.
After I cross the Tigris River from Iraq, I arrive in Syria. But this region isn't ruled from Damascus. Instead, the Kurdish forces that defeated IS still control this northeastern pocket. They call it Rojava. Local Kurdish journalist Mustafa Al-Ali is helping me search for Youssef. And the first step is to set up a meeting with the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces. The SDF controls the prisons that hold an estimated 9,000 men who are Islamic State group suspects. And they control the detention camps where approximately 55,000 affiliated family members live. What will it take to find information about him?
It's really hard because we have to speak to a lot of people, we have to speak to a lot of the officials. So we're gonna knock every door. We're gonna meet every person that might have the access to Youssef.
Recently, the Israel-Gaza conflict has led to increased volatility in the region, with Iran-backed militia groups targeting US bases. And IS sleeper cells are re-emerging. They've claimed responsibility for more than 100 attacks in the region since January. SDF checkpoints are everywhere.
وقتی که حاجز امانه یعنی تپه حاجز سکینیه تحس تيجي تشتك يعني شيء نابه يعني وقتی که حاجز تنبه داعش كانه شيء ببه.
In Al-Hasika, Mustafa and I meet with Kurdish authorities, a meeting we're not allowed to film. We put forward our request for information on Youssef Zahab. Whilst we wait for news, we visit the scene where Youssef was last heard from.
ذاتن أبر حبس دست بيت كان جيكو إيريش كنا وعربي تقيني ده عربي تقيني تف موتور كي تقيني فالبر تقاندن.
In January 2022, a prison in Al-Hasika was attacked by IS militants.
ذاتن السيرفير يه جنازة وان قالك البر كتبون جنازة ده عشي انتحاري شيء تقمنيبون.
Today, the Special Forces commander who led the counterattack is still on high alert.
قلتنا كيما هي دبجن دجمن رازي نا دبمري رازين دجمن رازي.
The attack 2 years ago was a brazen attempt by Islamic State group militants to free thousands of prisoners. As the battle spilled over into neighbouring suburbs, inside the prison, detained IS suspects overpowered their guards and took control.
داعش دما إيريش كر جبركو دهندر ده بتخت الرازانة بيدارية أو هسر خود كربون شور يعني مسر سه هوالا دكتور باكي دديت يعني أو شوازي واني وسا قزر يبيس أو نوع إنساني.
4 days into the siege, Youssef's voice emerged from the chaos in the form of a few short audio messages he managed to send to family on a smuggled phone.
My name is Yusuf Hisham Dahab. I'm Australian. I'm 17 years old. I need help. We're getting hit from every side from the Kurds. I'm very scared. We just are seeing a lot of bodies of kids, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. My friends got killed here.
Then, Yusuf said he'd been badly injured.
I just got shot by Apache. My head's bleeding. I need help, please.
He managed to send a grainy photo showing his bandaged head. His last message, sent on day 6 of the siege, indicated he was about to leave the compound and surrender. After that, silence. After the 10-day battle, the SDF reported more than 500 dead, including 121 of their own soldiers. But although many prisoners reportedly escaped, the SDF would not confirm how many remained unaccounted for.
It was sometime, I think in June, the Kurds attended at the camp and basically told his mother that we don't have Yusuf anymore. And what that meant was unclear to her. To me, it wasn't so unclear. They had somebody, they no longer have him, something's happened to him. Then with that as well was somebody Australian government leaked to the newspapers that they had a report that Yusuf had passed.
An Australian teenager detained in northeastern Syria has been confirmed dead just months after he pleaded with the government for help.
A memorial service for Yusuf was held at Sydney's Lakemba Mosque. It was a chance for his extended family to grieve.
Yusuf Zahab, I am absolutely devastated with the passing of my innocent nephew.
But then, another twist.
The next bit of information that we received was a year later. DFAT had asked to speak to the relevant family member that was the contact person for Yusuf's case. They then showed a video of Yusuf in that, which apparently was dated September 2022. And in fact, the people that turned up with the video couldn't answer any question that came as a result of that video, where he was, what his current health was like, why it had taken 10 months for this video apparently to arrive in Australia. I will say as time has gone on and the lack of clarity, it has made me a bit more cynical about the video itself, but that's my view. I know the family are much more hopeful that it is all true and nothing since has happened to him since that video has come out.
We've set up base in the town of Kamishli on the Turkish border, and we've just received some unexpected news. Kurdish authorities have confirmed Yusuf is alive in an SDF prison, and I can meet him tomorrow. We aren't allowed to film at the prison where Yusuf is being held, so he will be brought to meet us at a secure compound. He was imprisoned as a child at age 15, but I'll be meeting a young man, now aged 20. Right, record all? Yep. Everything rolling.
Okay.
Yusuf? Hi, I'm Colin Crozier from SBS Dateline. How are you? Can you tell me again, who are you? And so your family in Australia can kind of verify that you are who you say you are. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Yusuf Hisham Dahab. I used to live in Australia, Sydney, Bankstown. I used to go to the school called An-Nouri. Mom's name is Amina. My dad's name is Hisham. My sister's name is Sumaya. Got a brother, 2 brothers, one called Muhammad, one called Khalid. And yeah, I think...
You're Yusuf Zahab.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what's it like being here today talking to me, an Australian guy?
Australian? You're Australian?
I'm Australian, so we're with SBS Dateline program. Do you remember SBS in Australia?
Nah.
The channel, the TV station, SBS?
I'm not sure. I remember 10 years, 9 years. I remember...
The competitors.
Wow.
So we've come here to Syria to try and find you. How are you? Nobody's heard anything about you.
I don't know, I'm tired, of course, because of prison and that. Tired, because it's been 5 years now, I haven't seen my family, my mother. I had tuberculosis for a while. I don't know if I still have it now. Get pain in the chest sometimes. Get headaches sometimes from my injury on the head. I went through a lot of stuff, mostly bad. Day and night I'm scared, I'm feeling unsafe.
Why do you feel unsafe?
Because of what happened to me before in prison. Because I got tortured before. Got beaten up so much, I got knocked out twice.
By who?
I don't know, by guards. They were beating us up so much, blood coming out of them. I got knocked out twice from the beating. I got blood come out of my nose and that. My mouth, my lips got ripped from how much they used to beat me up on the head, on my body. I remember starvation, very hungry. Then after that, they took me to that place called Hasaka. There, they put me with the kids. Over there was literally...
So before this, you were with men?
Yes.
Have Australian authorities come to meet you here?
Once in 2019 only. They came and asked me a few questions about what's going on with me, and that's the last time I saw him.
What about your father? What news have you heard of him?
I actually don't know nothing about him. I don't know, but I'm really concerned more about my mother now because, I don't know, I just love my mother so much. My sister too. I think about him day and night.
Tell me about when you left Sydney.
I was 12 years old. I was in year 7. What I remember is that we sold our house and we were going to buy another house. What my mother and father told me that we're going on a holiday and they were going to come back buy the house. And then from there, I didn't understand what was going on until the day my mother, father, my brother, Khalid was telling me to run, and I was crying and I was scared and holding my mom's hand and just running. I didn't know what to do.
Can I just ask, whose idea was that to cross the border into ISIS territory?
I don't know, I'm not sure, but what I saw, what's going on and who's telling my dad and mom to do stuff was my brother, Khalid. But I'm actually not sure. You should ask my mother and father about that.
What was life like under the Islamic State?
Mostly at home. My mother bought me a PlayStation Vita so I can play on it. I had a laptop, used to watch movies on it. Never used to go out much because there used to be hittings from planes and that. Mother was always afraid for me to go out and that, and I was always afraid to go out because of the noise of the planes. It's scary.
I have to ask, when you lived in the Caliphate, did you join the Islamic State?
No, I never joined the Islamic State. And I've got asked that so many times. When I first came to prison, when Asia saw me until now. And I don't know why they always ask me the same question. But I haven't joined the Islamic State. I never went to ISIS. I didn't even come here. It wasn't me. I came with my family. Why am I in prison? I don't even understand that.
Did your mum and dad support the Islamic State?
Well, I'm not sure about that. Maybe. I don't know. I actually don't know. But what I think is because of my brothers, because of Khalid, because of Muhammad, it's because of them. That's why my mother, father, me, that's why I think that they got us here. They got us into all this trouble and that.
There will be people in Australia who are concerned that because of your time in prison, because you've spent so much time with so many adult men who were Islamic State fighters, that you will have become radicalized in prison. Is that the case, or what do you say to those concerns?
These adults I was with, I never used to sit with them. I never used to get close to them. I used to be scared of them. I have nothing to do with the Caliphate, or I don't know what it's called, ISIS. I just want to be a normal guy, a normal person like everyone else. How they're living their happy lives. I just want to go back and live a happy life too.
If you could have a message for the Australian government, what would you like to say?
That, please take me back home. I really want to go back home, live life again, continue my studies because I'm really low in education now. See my family.
Your family in Australia will be thrilled to hear about you and to see you looking well.
Thank you.
Kamal Debussy wanted you to know that they love you and they're thinking of you.
Thank you. Tell him I love him too. And tell him I love him more. And I just want to go back to Australia. So I hate all this that's happening to me. I want to see my mother. I think every day, like, you're living a normal life. Everyone outside is living a normal life. Just me, I'm doing all this shit every day since, I don't know, like 10 years now.
You were just a child.
I don't know, every time people come and ask me, you have something to do with ISIS, I tell them no. He comes interrogates with me, like I got interrogated more than 7 times, I don't know why. Every time, no, you have something to do with ISIS, I tell them no, I have nothing to do with ISIS. They always put me under pressure. Tell my family back in Australia that I love them more. And please don't please don't forget me here. I'm scared I'm gonna die here. So many people died in prison. Please, I just want to get back home. Please.
Finding missing Australian Yusuf Zahab in northeastern Syria proved to be surprisingly easy. Could it be that the timing was right? That the dust had settled since the prison attack? At least today, I can give his mother some news at Al Roj camp. I'm about to meet Yusuf's mum and to tell her that he's alive, that we've met him. And I'm going to show her this photo of Yusuf.
We're in Camp Rouge. This is where we live.
Amina Zahab has been in detention in a makeshift camp for 5 years, along with her daughter and grandchildren.
Asia, want to say hello? Say hello.
In 2022, 17 Australians were repatriated from Al Roj camp, including Kamal's daughter Mariam. But Amina, along with 41 other Australians, are still waiting in detention camps, living in an information black hole.
This is my tent, and you're welcome. Come in.
Thank you very much. Should we have a chat? Where's a good spot to have a chat?
Wherever you like. What do you think is a good spot?
Yeah. We'll set up in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Amina. I'm from Sydney, New South Wales.
When was the last time you saw Yusuf?
5 years ago.
And what have you heard from him since?
Then I heard that he died. I didn't want to believe it. But it was confirmed from home, from everywhere, you know, like even officials came here. And after about a year, was it a year? I was told that the government contacted a family member back home. They showed her that it was confidential, no one was allowed to look at it except her. They showed her a video of Yusuf. And ever since then, I think the family back home are trying so hard to know his whereabouts. And apparently the government don't know his whereabouts. I begged the families back home not to forget about Yusuf. I begged them. I'm begging you not to forget about Yusuf.
We have some news. We met Yusuf yesterday. He says he loves you. He says he loves you and he hasn't forgotten about you. He thinks about you every day.
Did you want to hug you? Did he hug you?
We were allowed to speak to him for an hour. He seemed well. He seemed well.
Healthy, are you sure?
I can show you a photo.
Oh my God. I need my glasses. I need my glasses to see him. Sorry, can I give those glasses there?
Took that photo yesterday.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, I did something.
I'll get it back. That's Yusuf. He seemed well.
You know, I haven't seen a photo of him for 5 years. And I don't know what he looks like anymore. I thought to myself, if I ever see him, I'm not going to know how he looks like anymore. You did. You did something that no one was able to do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I've always hoped that he's going to be a tough boy. He's going to go through it, and we're going to see each other, and we're going to meet each other. And just as much as I want to see him here, and I do want to give him a hug, but I always prayed that I'd meet him when we're leaving, and I'll just hug him and hold his hand and never leave it again. Where are you from?
Australia.
There's one more person I need to talk to. Let's call Kamal.
Hi, Colin. How are you?
Hey Kamal, I said I'd check in if we had some news, and we do have some news about Yusuf. We met Yusuf in person the other day.
You've met Yusuf. That is huge. How is he? Firstly, how is his health? How is he?
He seemed okay. He seemed okay. He told us his name. He told us where he grew up in Sydney and what school he went to, and he told us his whole story. From leaving Sydney until today, and it's quite a story.
That's amazing. I
thought you'd like that news.
I love that news. I don't know what else to say.
Beggars the question, right? If it was that easy for an Australian television crew to come and talk to the guy, why were we the first Australians that Yusuf has spoken to in 5 years?
There's a lot of questions, but that's the very obvious one.
I am honestly lost for words at the moment. I'm just so happy that he's alive, and I'm so happy for the family as well. But what a roller coaster they've been put through.
What really got to him, Kamal, was your message that the family loves him and hasn't forgotten. That really moved him. It really moved him.
Thank you, Colin. Okay. Yeah, it's a where to from here, I suppose, is our challenge at the moment. Yeah, thank you, Colin.
We have some footage that we can show you. So when you get off this telephone call, you can look at a little bit of footage of Yusuf. Kamal Tabusi wanted you to know that they love you and they're thinking of you.
Thank you. Tell him I love him too. And tell him I love him more. And I just want to go back to Australia.
Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh, guys. I've just got off the phone with Colin in Syria. They have met and interviewed Yusuf yesterday, their time. It's the first time you've spoken to any Australian in 5 years? And they're going to share some more information with us as soon as they can.
I'm heading back to Al Roj camp to meet another Australian family here, when I'm reminded of the region's instability. The US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, or SDF, control this part of Syria. But this morning, their enemies have just struck.
So there was a Turkish drone target like one of the cars in the town. They hit this car, and as far I knew that 3 cars have been targeted this morning.
Recently, there have been hundreds of drone strikes in the region. Turkey says it's targeting militants associated with the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK. The SDF says they are not associated with the PKK and that the airstrikes are targeting infrastructure, their officials, and destabilising the region. As crowds gather, somebody notices the drone is back.
Oh yeah, drone.
What's that, Johnny?
There's a drone. There is a drone above us.
Let's get out from the car without camera. Let's get out, guys.
So why without the camera?
Yeah, because if they see the camera, they might target that. They might target the car.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, getting out.
Yeah.
We've just had to get out of our vehicle, and our vehicle's actually just left because our driver was very worried. He said that a local journalist who had filmed a drone strike recently was then killed in a drone strike on his vehicle. So he understandably wants us to get out of here because I had my camera.
Yeah, I think let's move.
We're good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Back in the car.
Yeah.
Different car, yeah?
Yeah.
When I arrive at Al Roj camp, everyone is anxious about the strikes. For the 34 Australians here in the camp, it's a reminder that they're stuck in a hostile environment.
I was a bit worried. We heard a bomb about 10 minutes ago, so we were freaking out. We're like, are they still coming in? Are they going to come in? So we're glad that you guys came through.
What happened? What did you hear?
Just a really loud explosion. The situation's only getting worse. We're in such a difficult, regionally, everything, it's such a difficult area to be in. And the situation's really deteriorating.
In late 2022, the Albanese government repatriated 17 women and children. But over a year later, the remaining Australian women are confused and scared as to why they're still here. Zara Ahmed is a mum of 3 boys.
Okay, I won't look. You do me a nice big love heart.
Oh, you're drawing mummy, okay. And a yo-yo. Well done.
What about my love heart?
Zara's family makes up the largest group in Al Roj. Her mother is here, and so are her 3 sisters. For Zara, the longer she waits for news of repatriation, the more dangerous it is for her family.
Children here, the big boys, are potentially at risk of being taken away from mum. It has happened. And it's very, very, very scary. I can't explain to you the amount of fear that we feel, the amount of anxiety that we feel constantly.
UN experts say that adolescent boys are separated from their mothers on the Kurdish authorities' belief that they pose a security risk. Did they know the story of Yusuf?
Yes, they're aware of Yusuf's story. They're very scared. They're very scared that that might happen to them, especially since Yusuf was 15 when he was taken away from mum. And Mohammed is 12 now.
Mommy.
Okay, now, how many 3s go into 60?
2 remainder 1. No, 5 remainder 1.
Well done. Very good.
Do you remember school?
He's never been to school.
How come he's never been to school?
Because he was only 2 when he left Australia. all I want to do is save them from the trauma and save them. So I will just kind of make it like everything's fine. You know, Mum, no worries, everything's good. Even if it's not good, for me, put on a brave face, it's okay, you know, because I remember even me growing up. If Mum and Dad are good, I'm good.
What's happening to you inside?
Inside's... Sorry.
Can't be easy here.
If they take them away from me, I might never see them again. I don't know what they'll do to them. I can't have that happen to my kids. They're innocent. They haven't done anything wrong. I don't believe they should be punished for something that they don't even have anything to do with.
Zara says Australian authorities came to the camp in 2022 to process travel documentation for the women and children. They thought they'd all be leaving.
You know, it gave us a bit of light. Then they took the first group, and then we were still holding on to, you know, maybe, you know, every car we would hear would say, oh, maybe they're here to come take us. You know, it's our turn. And the kids every day had their shoes ready on the door, had their clothes ready to get dressed to go, had their bags ready.
I have to ask, are you a security concern if you go back to Australia?
You can ask anybody about the Australians in the camp, from the military intelligence to the soldiers, to the shopkeepers, to the organisations. They always say the Australians are the one group that are just, you know, outstanding.
The Australian public won't really get the chance to ask the Kurds here, but they will think that you've been locked up here alongside ISIS supporters.
Of course, and I understand that. And I think I would have the same concern if I was back home. But what I would like to say is, don't be so quick to judge. Try and look at it from our perspective. We are also mothers, you know, we're human beings at the end of the day. The fact that we're saying that we're willing to comply to whatever the government wants, you know, we're not hiding.
You'll often hear in Australia, you made this bed, you can sleep in it.
Yes.
What do you say to that comment?
I didn't make this bed, so I'm not going to answer that, you know, because it's for me, that doesn't apply. Yeah. Like most of the women in the camp, doesn't apply.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that we're now forced to suffer for the decisions that other people, you know, male influencers have made on our behalf. And now they're all gone and we're left to suffer with our kids.
It's estimated about 200 Australians travelled to Syria and Iraq to join IS or to live in territory under its control. Yusuf's mother Amina blames her two older sons for coercing the family to Syria.
So it was the boys. Just as hard as...
Your sons,
Yes.
Mohammed and Khalid?
Yes, Mohammed and Khalid, it was the boys. We were trafficked. We were tricked into coming in here. We didn't come here because on our own two feet because we wanted to. I've come to the conclusion I really, really feel that they were brainwashed somehow. And Yusuf is his own story. He is not his brothers. He's someone completely different.
Thank you for coming all the way here.
You're welcome, that's very nice. And while many men died during the war, including Yusuf's older brothers, by our count, only around 13 Australian men are here in prison. The head of Yusuf's house was his father, Hisham. He was reported to have died from tuberculosis in prison. Hi, Hisham? This is the first time Hisham Zahab has been publicly seen in 4.5 years. I'm Colin Cozier from Australia. I'm Australian. I'm from the program Dateline on SBS television. Tell me who you are.
My name is Hisham Zahab. I'm from Australia, Sydney.
Are you okay to do this interview?
Yeah, I'll try.
When was the last time you saw your family?
5 years ago, they left, and I give up myself. And I have a son. He was 14 years old. He's in the jail in somewhere, I don't know. I asked to meet him. They never let me. So we separated 5 years. I don't know if he's still alive or he's dead.
We have met Yusuf on this trip.
You met him?
We met Yusuf. We spoke to him like we're speaking to you now.
How is he?
He seems okay. He seems okay considering. Yeah. He said that he misses his family and he misses Australia.
I miss him too. And I miss Australia too.
Are you okay today? You look cold, like you're shaking.
Because when I come here, my heart beating a lot, so I have pressure in my chest. That's all.
Are you okay? Do you want a drink?
I'm fine. They give me some water outside.
What did you think was happening when you came here today?
I don't know. It's been, I've been through a lot. I'm scared maybe they're gonna beat me.
Have you been charged with anything?
No, they not charge me or anything.
What do you understand about why you're here?
I understand, because I come to Syria. The reason I come to Syria to take my sons back to Australia, and I couldn't make it, so I stuck in this quicksand.
Hisham and Amina's oldest son, Mohammed, was a senior IS member and already in Syria. Sumaya had been there since 2014. It's alleged that in 2015, the rest of the family went to the border to try to rescue Sumaya. But Amina says Khaled tricked the family and trafficked them across the border. Yusuf backs this up, saying Khaled was responsible. But Hisham's story doesn't quite match up. You went from Lebanon to Turkey with Khaled, yes?
Yes. So?
Did he trick you into crossing the border, or why did you cross the border?
He wanted to meet his brother too. He wanted to convince him to come back to Australia too.
Was Khaled at that point a member of the Islamic State?
No.
I understand why you would want to get your son and your daughter back. It doesn't make sense though why you would take your wife and young child into Syria to try and convince them. It wouldn't be safe.
When we call them, they say safe. You can go inside and go out. It's easy. They tell us.
And you believed them?
I believe.
How do you feel towards your sons now, Mohammed and Khaled?
May Allah forgive them. That's what I say.
Were you or are you a member of the Islamic State?
No.
Was Yusuf a member of the Islamic State?
No. He was so young, he never.
Did his brothers radicalize him? Did they brainwash him to become part of the Islamic State?
They tried. But he always was with me.
Who do you think is responsible for you and your family being in this position?
Me. I put it in I'm responsible. Because I'm the oldest and I'm the man of the family.
If you could see Yusuf, what would you say to him?
I'm sorry. I want to say sorry to him. Because he's been so a lot. And he was so young to be in the jail. maybe I'm gonna lose my mind if something happened to him.
He's okay. We spoke to him. He's 20 now.
20 now. He's a man.
Do you still have hope?
Yeah, I hope. Government is solid to take us back. That's what I hope.
I come away from meeting Hisham with more questions than I went in with. Was the family coerced by the sons into entering Syria? Or was Hisham in on the plan all along? I don't think I'll find out here. In 2015, the Australian Federal Police used proceeds of crime legislation to freeze Zahab family assets in Australia, claiming some of the funds from the sale of their Western Sydney home were destined for IS. Court documents named Hisham, Amina, and their son Mohammed. In early 2017, it was reported that Kuwaiti authorities charged Hisham with financing terrorism, money laundering, and joining a terrorist organisation. But Yusuf doesn't think his parents are to blame.
I always say my mind is because of my brothers, not because of my mother and father. Because what I saw in my mother and father, before in Australia, they just wanted to sell the house and buy a new house and live life again, but just a smaller house.
Why do you think you've been left here?
I don't know why. That's the question I wish to ask you. I don't know why. I actually don't know why I'm here. I'm 5 years now. I don't know why. I don't know because they claim that I'm dead outside. I don't know even why.
I wasn't able to see the conditions that Yusuf and Hisham are held in. But in July last year, the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights and Counter-Terrorism visited several prisons and camps. She wrote a report on what she found.
I think the report is damning. If you're going to hold somebody, if you're going to deprive them of their liberty, if you're not going to allow someone to leave a place of detention like a prison or a camp, you have to have a legal basis to do it. Not a single Australian who's being held in northeast Syria has had access to any legal process, zero legal process. And so we use that term mass arbitrary detention to describe this kind of gross human rights violation.
What sort of violations are you talking about?
Australian women and men are subject to the most egregious harms under international law, which includes torture, inhuman and degrading treatment, which has included sexualized violence, and which has included the potential of war crimes being committed.
They're Australian citizens, but they're being held by Kurdish authorities in Syria. Who's responsible in this situation?
The basic rule of international law is each country is responsible for its own. You don't shed your nationals like debris and have other countries be responsible for them. And what that means is you bring them back, apply the full force of the law to them. And to be clear, for Australian men or women who have committed crimes in northeast Syria, they should be prosecuted because the victims of terrorism have a right to those prosecutions, but they're never going to be prosecuted in northeast Syria.
Why do you think countries are leaving their citizens here?
Well, I would start by saying there's a whole bunch of foreign nations who haven't and who are working really hard to bring them back. And it's deeply regretful that Australia has not found the political and social capacity to make the hard decisions. And so I think it boils down to political will. The report is really clear that states who refuse to bring their nationals home, given all of the evidence of this kind of the scale and systematization of this abhorrent treatment, are in breach of their international human rights obligations, including the government of Australia.
Fionnuala commends the Kurdish authorities for giving her access to the prisons and camps, knowing full well her report would be damning. The local autonomous administration admits there are problems.
وأنا بنا بكريج دبيجن أم دبيجن شرط مرجن كامبا این نابند تأهیل نابند احتجازی شرط و مرجی وانا پیوان وانا نوکتین خواستن امجی پی نارازینه جبر کبراستی پیوستی بجهن نهنه جهن مستر هنه کو شرط نهم با آفرینه امکان ربیبری تیری ناکه کو واتستانا آوا بکه با آفرینه.
Do you feel abandoned by the international community and being burdened with the responsibility of looking after so many foreigners?
هلوستوان لوازه نتیرو تجیه وکه کو اب بار حمول سرمل ربیبری کو سر هیشتنه اب دیله کو داعش جنوب جبه سیاست لواز فایده بگیره خواب هیز بکه و خواب رخصت. کلوی داره داعش خورد به بهز دبه بزن بل سر اولکاری جهان تف دبه خطر لسر و ولاتنا بخوا خطریه که جدی تشکیل دکه.
The Autonomous Administration of North and East Syria wants to focus on fighting the remnants of IS and dealing with Turkish drone strikes, not looking after foreigners. So the message to the international community is
یا پیشگیری ربیبی قصر بکن لبیداری یعنی دیگه همولاتی خواب ببین اینها به درباره هر جی کمن باش پیک ناین.
After travelling to Syria and meeting Yusuf and his family, I'm still left with many questions about why 55 Australian citizens have been left behind. In late 2022, the government repatriated 4 women and 13 children from Syria. Kamal Debussi's daughter and grandchildren were among those brought back.
Look, they're doing well. Kids are at school. Mariam cooperated with authorities on return. She's free to get on with life. There is check-ins and discussions that happen, but it's not. There's been nothing. No legal impediment. No charges. Nothing's been put to her at all.
Of the 4 women that were repatriated, only one has been charged with willingly entering Syria. And while his own daughter is now back, Kamal remains as the spokesperson for the families who are still waiting in Syria.
So I think Australia and the UK are the 2 holdouts as far as repatriation goes. America took their citizens out some time ago. It has stalled, I think, basically for the optics of it, for the politics of it. They are afraid of the political point scoring that might come by the opposition by them doing this.
When in opposition, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese signals that repatriation was the right thing to do.
Children who are Australian citizens who've made no choices about where they are and the circumstances in which they find themselves are deserving of Australia's protection.
3 years later, his government acted. But the news was met with angry reactions from some in Sydney's Assyrian community who'd fled from IS.
We run away from them because they hurt and they demolish our country.
ليس إنه دولة أسترالي عبعيش هون الداعش.
Some news outlets labelled the returning women as ISIS brides.
That is the ISIS brides from Syria and the 42 children.
The ISIS brides are in our community, in our parks, and they're in our McDonald's.
While the government and the opposition exchanged public blows.
It's not a question of compassion. It's a question of keeping Australians safe.
One of the things that needs to be understood here is that these are Australian citizens.
If we think that the threat has gone away, that people wouldn't act out, that there couldn't be an explosion in our country, then I think that's an incredibly naive.
There's been no suggestion that anyone who's come back here is causing any actual threat to safety.
The political point scoring, I think, became very loud, and it's what spooked the government, I think, in effect.
So when your daughter and the others were brought back, was the expectation at the time that everybody would be out, that more would follow?
Yes. That was very clearly the expectation at that point in time. They were planning on the others almost immediately or within a matter of weeks, and it stopped.
Last year, Save the Children Australia brought a case to the federal court to compel the government to repatriate the remaining Australian women and children. The case failed, but an appeal is expected to be heard in May. So far, there is no case made for the men or for Yusuf to be brought back. I wanted to tell you in person that when we spoke to Yusuf, he told me that he had been tortured, beaten up. He talked about being scared he'll die over there, and he said he's seen a lot of people die.
I'm quite shocked to hear and sad to hear that he's been tortured. He's not been protected, and as a child he's been left in this abhorrent situation where he's been exposed to a whole series of things that no child should have to go through.
Now that you know that Yusuf is alive, what next?
We need to go down and kick down the doors of Parliament. We need to get their attention. We need to get them to act to take Yusuf, get him out of harm's way, make him safe. And they're the only ones that can do this. We can't do this. The only people that can act to make him safe is the Australian government.
We sent a list of questions to the Minister's offices at Home Affairs, Foreign Affairs, and the Prime Minister and Cabinet, asking about further plans for repatriation and about Australia's role in the mass indefinite detention of Australian citizens in northeastern Syria. They did not respond to the questions. Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill declined an interview request and didn't comment when approached by SBS News.
Minister, on Yusuf Zahab, the Australian detained by Kurdish authorities in northeast Syria, what responsibility does the Australian government have to advocate on his behalf? His family are desperate. What are your response to concerns about his welfare and treatment?
If you won't comment on an individual case, what humanitarian obligation does the government have to children and women stuck in camps in Syria?
But in a recent interview with SBS, the head of ASIO gave a frank assessment of the remaining Australians, including the men.
Obviously, not everyone stuck in Syria is a threat to security. It's an unfortunate situation. Some are, though, and we have to be vigilant about that. We would give advice on whether they're a security threat or not. Bringing them home is other people's responsibilities. But if they're an Australian citizen, they have a right to come home.
My name is Yusuf Hisham Dahab. I'm 2003, I'm 17 years old. I need help.
Dateline also asked the SDF in Syria to comment on Yusuf's allegations that he was tortured and beaten. Officials deny his allegations. They say they're doing their best to provide medical help to prisoners, including dangerous IS suspects.
Yusuf and his family have suffered so much. Yusuf is emblematic of everything that's wrong for children in northeast Syria.
He shouldn't have been in a prison. He should have been taken out of there from the beginning. That was the responsibility of our government. Yes, I know my sons made a mistake. I know they did, and it was a big, huge mistake. But he had nothing to do with it. It wasn't him.
What's the news outside? Is Australia going to take me back, or am I going to be able to see my mother at least, or my family, because I've missed them so much? Are they going to take me back to Australia, or what's going to happen to me?